So we might get started. Before we begin, I'm going to pass over to AMSI's director, Professor Tim Marchant, just to give a brief introduction about what we do here at AMSI and to just welcome you all. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Sarah. So I'm Tim Marchant. I'm the Director of AMSI, the Australian Mathematical Sciences Institute. First of all, I'd like to do an acknowledgement of country. So we acknowledge and celebrate the First Nations on whose traditional lands we meet and pay our respects to elders past and present. So welcome everybody to this afternoon's AMSI RBA Career Insights webinar. So I'd like to thank you all for attending this afternoon and also thank the RBA for co-hosting the event with us. Before we start, I'd just like to say a few words about AMSI and what we do at AMSI. So AMSI is a peak body for the mathematical sciences. We have a broad membership base of universities, professional societies, government agencies and industry partners. And part of our mission is to encourage and support students to study mathematics at both school and universities, and also to promote careers in the mathematical sciences and related disciplines. So the workforce demand for graduates with strong math skills is growing and increasing due to the growth and importance of data and its analysis in the Australian economy. By that, fields such as AI, data science, and machine learning are in the papers all the time, and you'll have heard of these disciplines of study, and they all require really strong maths and stat skills. So I would encourage all students attending today to continue on with the study of maths at either specialist maths or maths methods at year 11 and 12, because that will open up a great deal of career opportunities for you in the future. So thanks, everybody, and I'll pass back to Sarah now.
Thanks, Tim, and thank you all again for attending today. The session is all about helping you better understand what a career at the Reserve Bank of Australia might look like and the skills and experiences that can help you get there. You'll hear firsthand from two of the bank's talented analysts about their career journeys, the kind of work that they do, and the advice for students and graduates interested in the field of mathematics and STEM. We'll have time for a Q&A at the end, so please feel free to submit your questions throughout the session and we'll get through as many as we can. I'm pleased to introduce our first speaker of the event, Maddie Roberts. Maddie is a senior analyst in the Financial Stability Department at the Reserve Bank of Australia. She has been with the RBA for over 2 years, beginning her career in the Domestic Markets Department as a graduate. In her current role, Maddie's work focuses on assessing the resilience and vulnerabilities of the Australian financial system to a range of risks, helping to inform internal and external policy decisions. Maddie, I'm going to pass over to you now to get started.
Thanks, Sarah. I'll just take a second to share my slides. All right. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here to talk to you about my career path, what I like about economics and the RBA, and how I apply maths in economics. So to introduce myself, my name's Maddie and I'm a senior analyst in the Financial Stability Department at the RBA. I'll talk more to that later, but I thought a nice starting place would be when I was in your shoes in my senior years in high school. So in years 11 and 12, I studied both Extension 1 Maths and Economics. I am from New South Wales, so I'm not exactly sure how the HSC and Victoria studies line up, but I think that is equivalent to some kind of specialist maths in the Victoria system. I always liked maths, and I knew that I would choose it as one of my subjects, but I kind of fell into economics. I was really unsure about whether I wanted to choose business studies or economics for my senior years, and I didn't really fully understand what exactly economics was when I was choosing my subjects. Lucky for me, I had a really great commerce teacher who basically told me to do economics because she thought that I'd like it, and she was right. I ended up choosing to study economics in uni because I enjoyed it so much, even though I thought I wanted to pursue finance as a career. So at uni, I did a double degree in commerce and economics at UNSW. I majored in finance, econometrics, and a now non-existent major called business strategy and economic management. For those of you who may not have heard of it before, econometrics at a very simple level basically involves applying math and statistical models and methods to social, business, financial, and economic data to analyze questions that we care about. For example, what the relationship between two variables might be, to test hypothesis, and make predictions about future trends. In about my second year of uni, I realized that I didn't want to enter the finance world. I wasn't really enjoying my finance subjects and thought I actually wanted to be an economist. Not only was I enjoying my economic subjects, but I really fell in love with economics sort of as a career path. What I really like about economics is that it's about people. It's a way that we can study people and the kinds of choices that they make. It's also a way of thinking that helps us answer important questions, such as, why do women earn less than men? And it's also a field of study that intersects with and draws on many areas, including maths, but also psychology, finance, and a lot of other areas. And so really I was drawn in by the ability that economics has to affect people's lives and through public policy. So I really enjoyed that part of economics. And so when I was at uni, I was lucky enough to have some summer internships. I interned at Deloitte Access Economics, McGrath-Nicholl, and the RBA. When I interned at the RBA, I worked in Golnara's current department, Economic Research, which she'll talk about in her presentation later. I really enjoyed my internship at the RBA, which is why I did come back. Essentially, it was sort of a 5-week program over the summer, where I got to sort of have a short-term research project where I looked at whether or not people move more or less when housing prices go down. And so I thought it was a really great experience. It was really fun looking into a topic that didn't just touch on economics, but also involved a lot of data and sort of aspects of psychology, like whether people don't like to realize losses. So that was while I was still studying my undergraduate degree. So my degree in total was 4 years. And I ended up adding an extra year, an honours year in economics. So for those who might not be aware, basically an honours year is an extra year. Many different degrees do it, where you get to sort of write a thesis on a topic of interest. And so for economics, I wrote a thesis looking at whether domestic violence increased during the COVID lockdowns in New South Wales. And that really captures what I love about economics is it allows me to take sort of math and statistical methods to data to answer things that I care about, such as domestic violence and gender equality. And so after finishing my honours year, I started as a graduate at the RBA. It's a 2-year program, which I finished in February. And I spent time in 2 departments under the program, domestic markets and financial stability. I currently work in a team called Australian Financial System at the RBA. And basically my work focuses on assessing the different risks and resilience and vulnerabilities related to Australian banks using bank level and other data. So that might sound a little bit vague. So I'll sort of give an example of one of the things that we look at to have a look at banks. So essentially what banks do is they give people loans, for example, for housing, so people's mortgages. And one of the things we look at is how many of those loans are overdue by more than 90 days. And that just gives us an idea of how healthy the economy is in terms of households being able to meet their payments. So that's my career in a nutshell. Where does maths come in? So maths is pretty important in economics. It allows us economists to communicate our ideas and findings, to solve economic problems, and analyze economic data. It also gives us frameworks and models to represent economic ideas and concepts. And I used a lot of my high school maths while I was studying economics and finance. University economics builds upon a lot of what you learn in high school. For example, calculus, particularly differentiation, is used to think about optimization, such as maximizing profits or minimizing costs. Algebra is used to model systems of equations, such as supply and demand in a market. And probability and statistics are used to analyze data and test questions that we care about. So while I used a lot of maths while I was at uni, I can't pretend that I spend each day writing down equations while I'm at work. But my day-to-day is a mix of research and data analysis, and a lot of it does involve maths, particularly communicating economic ideas and problem solving. I think even having strong knowledge of maths helps you present sort of difficult concepts and also just understand how we should measure things that we care about. For example, looking at when we look at how many mortgages are overdue, we don't just look at the number, we look at how many mortgages are overdue as a proportion of all mortgages. And so that kind of thinking and how we should measure things really draws upon maths, and really interpreting any kind of data also uses maths. So I would say while I'm not sort of crunching out equations, maths is the foundation of sort of everything we do when it comes to economics. And so I'll just finish my presentation with some sort of high-level examples of how my department uses maths. So as I mentioned, I work in the RBA's Financial Stability Department, and our job is to understand the current resilience of the financial system and potential risks to financial stability. Basically, we ask, where could the next economic or financial crisis come from? And what sort of are the chinks in the armor of our financial system? And so part of this involves looking at the various pressures on households and businesses and their cash flows and savings. So these graphs show the amount of borrowers that are estimated not to have the income to cover their estimated expenses and their scheduled repayments for their housing loans. And these calculations of the historical and scenario estimates involve maths. So we get the different scenarios for the economy from the RBA's economic department, who create these forecasts using math, as Gulnara will speak to. My department takes the economic forecasts and then apply it to our own models. And we use math to estimate how different economic variables, such as growth in wages, the cash rate, and unemployment affect borrowers' finances. And then we apply these estimates to the economic forecasts to then forecast the number of borrowers with cash flow shortfall if the economy evolves in line with our predictions. And so basically, I guess to summarize, math is sort of the foundation of how we do all of our economics, and it gives us the tools needed in order to answer the questions we care about. And so the questions that my department and I care about in my daily job are related to sort of the Australian financial system. So making sure that households and businesses, they're doing well with their cash flow and savings, that banks and other other financial institutions like super funds are all stable and can support payments and other important services that they offer the economy. And that's my presentation.
Thanks so much, Maddie. I think there was a consistent through line about how maths allows you to answer questions and analyze data on issues that you care about, just in your day-to-day, but also just like personal global interests as well, which I thought was really interesting. I'm going to pass over now to our second speaker of the day, who is Gulnara Nolan. Gulnara is the lead analyst and research economist at the RBA, and her research interests include monetary fiscal interactions, labour markets, inflation expectations, and how monetary policy is transmitted through the economy. Over to you, Gulnara.
Thanks, Sarah. And hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Today, I'm going to talk about my experience, how we apply math at the RBA, and what I love about economics the most. So before we begin, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Gulnara, and I'm an economist in the Economic Research Department. And I started my career after completing a PhD in Italy. And since then, I have worked across a range of institutions and policy areas. So my first role was at the New Zealand Treasury, where I joined the modeling team to help building and testing behavioral microsimulation model, which is essentially how individuals might respond to changes in tax and welfare settings. From there, I moved to the Ministry of Economic Development in New Zealand, working in the Chief Economist unit. And then later, I joined the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, where I worked on a number of projects, including the distributional consequences of monetary policy. And 3 years ago, I joined the RBA, and I currently work in the frameworks and macroeconomic modeling team within the research department. My work focuses on building and using structural macro models and combining that with insights from microdata. So while I work in a central bank, my role is a blend of research, data analysis, and modeling, but also a lot of it involves mathematics and problem solving. That's a part of what I will be talking about today. At the RBA, economists work across different departments, as Maddie highlighted in her presentation as well, each with its own focus. But let me give you an example from the economic group perspective where my department is sitting at. So economic group consists of economic analysis and economic research department. For example, briefly in economic analysis department, where many economists begin their careers at in the bank. So here we focus on short to medium term issues. In economic analysis department, we monitor and analyze economic trends, produce forecasts to help inform the bank's decisions like setting interest rates. In my department, economic research department, we focus on longer term questions. We look into deeper structural issues and build the tools that other departments can use, such as macroeconomic models or research on labor markets, inequality, or financial stability. So the work is often more technical, but it gives us the time and freedom to explore questions in more depth. So what I love about economics is how it combines theory and data to understand real-world problems, and ultimately which can help us to inform better policy. That's something I find very motivating, the idea that rigorous thinking and evidence can help improve people's lives. And math plays a key role in all of this. whether it's modeling how the economy works, or estimating effects from data, or solving equations in dynamic models. Math is the foundation. So I studied math overseas, but one thing I really appreciated is that math is a universal language. It's used everywhere across countries and institutions, and it helps us communicate ideas clearly and precisely, even across very different policy environments. So one of the most important parts of the work we do in our economic group is building and using economic models, many of which are grounded in mathematics. So these models are at the heart of how we make sense of what's happening in the economy, and they help us guide key decisions. At their core, economic models are simplified versions of reality. Of course, no model can capture every detail of a complex economy, but they provide a clear framework for thinking through how different parts of the economy interact, like households, businesses, prices, interest rates, and employment. Models help policymakers in two key ways. First, they help discipline and organize our thinking, because models are built using mathematical equations, and their results are structured and transparent. So forecasts can be broken down into individual components. For example, how much of GDP growth is due to consumption versus investment. This makes it easier to explain and communicate our views. And second, math, in general, the models and math, they help us think about risks and assumptions. So many of the models we use, especially econometric or simulation-based models, allow us to ask what-if questions. For example, what happens to inflation if wages grow faster than expected? Or what if global demand slows down suddenly? These conditional forecasts are essential for scenario planning, and underpinning all of this is math. So we use mathematics not just to express the relationship in a model, but also to solve them, especially when we are dealing with dynamic models that involve expectations about the future. We also use math in the estimation stage, when we calibrate or fit the model to real-world data. Personally, I love how much math gives us a precise and rigorous way to think through problems. And it's a skill that transfers across to many different settings. Whether it's algebra, calculus, or statistics, mathematical thinking is fundamental to making good economic models and good economic policy. So I want to end with this slide. It brings together a few of the key points we've discussed. On the left, you see the impulse response functions. So this is a plot from my current research discussion paper I'm working on. And this plot shows how the economy responds over time to a shock. In this case, we have an increase in labor disutility. So disutility from working rather than having a leisure. So when disutility increases, how the economy responds to this shock. This kind of output is what policymakers use to understand what might happen to things like inflation, interest rates, if we face a shock today. But what is behind that graph is equally important, and that's the math. On the right, you can see a snapshot of what one of the equations look like from the underlying structural macroeconomic model we use to generate these results. To get from the equation to the plot, we need to, first of all, translate economic intuition into mathematical relationship. Second, we need to use math and computational tools to solve the system of equations, often dynamic, forward-looking, and nonlinear equations. And then we need to interpret the results in light of economic theory and real-world context. So while these charts look neat and polished, They represent a huge amount of rigorous thinking, coding, and mathematical problem solving. That's what I love about this kind of work. Math isn't just something we learn in school. It's a tool we actively use every day to answer complex questions about how the economy works, and it also helps us to support decisions that will affect millions of people. Whether we are forecasting inflation, analyzing risks, or exploring new economic models, math is what gives us the precision, clarity, and structure that we need to do our jobs well. So with that, I'll finish my talk today, and thank you so much for listening. And I hope this has given you a sense of how much math can be used in our work in practical, meaningful, and impactful way. Thank you very much.